You think it was the anger that forged you, don't you? That raw fury, that blaze they ignited deep in your core, that tempest you locked tight behind your clenched jaw. You believe that's what made you unbreakable. Let me lay it out for you, slow and sharp, the way truth always cuts. Anger is cheap. Anyone can torch the world when they're furious enough. That's simple. That's frail. You want to know what's truly grueling? What's real? Waking up every morning, choking down the same venom, hearing the same snickers behind your back, feeling the same knife twist in your heart from people you'd have bled for. And still, you don't crack. That's discipline. That's true strength. Not outbursts, not meltdowns. Control. Cold, deliberate, unyielding control. That's what makes you a threat. See, people get it wrong. They spot a man moving quietly, staying low, not shouting, not throwing punches, and they label him weak. They call him soft. But I see what's behind that silence. I know the battles raging in your mind. You've fought wars no one witnessed. You've bled in rooms without doors. You've built kingdoms from the dust of your own ruins. You taught yourself to smile when every fiber of you screamed to roar. That's why they fear you. Not because you lashed out, not because you broke something, but because you didn't. You could have, you wanted to, but you held back. They pushed you, tested you, lied to your face, betrayed your trust, and you kept moving forward. You didn't beg, you didn't complain, you didn't throw a tantrum. You studied, you trained, you waited, you grew. That's what real monsters do. They don't bark, they don't bite recklessly. They watch, they sharpen, and when the time's right, they strike once, then vanish back into silence. Who survives in the end? Not the loudest, not the one with the biggest fists or the fiercest screams. It's the disciplined, the one who shows up even when he's shattered, the one who grinds when no one's watching, the one who doesn't broadcast his pain, doesn't chase pity, doesn't fold when left alone. That's you, and they don't see it coming, do they? They're too busy mocking, underestimating, thinking they've crushed you because you didn't react. But that's the trick, isn't it? Your silence wasn't defeat. It was preparation. Let them laugh. Let them think they've won. That's the best part. They mistake your quiet for weakness when it's really your reload. The calm before your storm. You're not finished. You're just not loud about it. You're the kind of person who takes pain and forges it into fuel, takes betrayal and crafts it into strategy, takes loss and builds it into legacy. That's a threat they can't quantify because you're not burning with rage anymore. You're frozen with purpose. And that, my friend, is far more terrifying than any shout. They thought breaking you would end your story. Wrong. It only ended your softness, your willingness to bend. What's left is focused, relentless, disciplined. That's the version they can't predict. You used to fight for others. Now you fight for the vision, the future, the silence. Every step you take now unnerves them because you're not yelling, you're not swinging wildly, you're thinking, you're moving with precision. That kind of danger doesn't come with flashing signs. It comes with consequences. So when you feel like you've lost your edge, like you're too calm, too detached, remind yourself, rage is a spark, discipline is a fire. One flares out fast. The other burns eternal. You don't need to prove anything. Your scars already tell the story. Your silence screams louder than their chaos. Remember those nights you sat in the dark, eyes fixed on a ceiling that never answered? Those weren't just sleepless hours. They were forging grounds. You were shaping yourself in the shadows while they slept soundly. thinking the game was over. They didn't know the real game hadn't even begun. You weren't losing. You were evolving, quietly, painfully. Every betrayal became a lesson. Every failure, a blueprint. Every lie they fed you, a reminder to let go of softness. They thought you were just hurting, number. You were building piece by piece, controlled, icy, focused. You didn't raise your voice, you raised your standards, and now look at them, still running their mouths, still trying to provoke the old you. They want the raw anger, the emotional wreck, the man who reacts, who pleads, who bleeds for them to see. But that man's gone. You buried him without a ceremony. What stands now is a man with eyes like blades, precise and unforgiving. You're not here for their drama anymore. You're not here for revenge. You're here to build something that outlasts their noise, to create results so undeniable they'll choke on their own regret, and they will regret it. Not because you got mad, but because you didn't. Because you didn't crumble in front of them. Because you didn't beg for closure. You vanished. You disappeared into a sharper version of yourself. In that void, you trained. You leveled up. You grew into a silence so loud it echoes in every space you once occupied. That echo haunts them because it reminds them they lost something irreplaceable. You, your presence, your loyalty, your time, your mind. When someone like you detaches, it's not just loss, it's annihilation. Let me tell you why discipline is feared more than rage. Rage is chaotic, it's impulsive, it's emotional. It burns everything, including the one wielding it. But discipline is a blade, clean, quiet, lethal. It doesn't shout, it doesn't warn, it doesn't miss. You didn't survive by chance. You didn't walk through fire just to be ordinary. You didn't lose everything just to play nice again. Life cornered you, forced you to evolve. And you didn't become a bigger beast. You became the architect of your own revival, controlled, calculated, silent. You stopped reacting. That's when you became deadly. That's when the fear crept into them because they couldn't read you anymore. They couldn't play your emotions like strings anymore. You cut the ties. You became the one holding the blade. That's silence, that's power, that's stillness, that's wisdom. You observe, you measure, you wait, and when you move, it's surgical, it's final, it's something no rage-fueled fool can match. Rage is loud but reckless. It'll punch a wall and break its own bones. Discipline builds the wall that traps their entire world. You don't waste energy anymore. You don't chase closure, you give distance. You don't argue, you replace. You don't scream, "Look at me." You let your actions become the nightmare they can't escape. You became something they can't out-talk, outlast, or outrun. You didn't let rage steer you. You let silence shape you. Now you walk differently. You speak less. You move smarter. You think sharper. You act faster. That's what danger looks like. Not a beast roaring in the streets, but a shadow in the system. Unseen, unbothered, unmatched. You went from being the story they mock to the silence that exposes their flaws. And you did it not by losing control, but by mastering it. What scares them now? It's not that you're angry. It's that you're not. It's that you don't flinch anymore. You don't explain yourself. You don't react when they prod. You just stare. You just nod. You just disappear. They were ready for the chaos, the shouting, the breakdowns, but they weren't ready for the version of you that doesn't need an audience, that doesn't chase answers, that doesn't bleed for people who'd watch you fall and still say it's your fault. You became a puzzle they can't solve. People fear what they can't understand. They dread what they can't control. And you've become ungovernable. Discipline isn't just about routines and hustle. It's about restraint. It's about resisting the urge to lash out at those who deserve it. It's about smiling through their gossip, knowing the truth could burn their fragile world to ash. It's about walking away when every instinct screams to fight. That's not weakness. That's God-level strength. Most don't have it. They act on impulse. You act on principle. They crave validation. You crave legacy. They want attention. You want results. That's why they resent you, even when they claim to love you. They don't know how many times you could have exposed them, crushed them, humiliated them, but you didn't. Not because you couldn't, but because you're too focused, too evolved. Their drama is a distraction. You've got bigger battles to fight within every single day. Could they survive what you've endured? Would they carry your weight without breaking? Number. They'd crumble. They'd post their pain online, begging for sympathy. You didn't. You went silent. You built in the shadows. And now the light doesn't even tempt you. You found peace in the dark. You found home in the chaos. That's the kind of discipline that sets you apart from the herd. You used to explain yourself, defend your heart, try to prove you were loyal, real, different. It drained you, wounded you, exhausted you. Now you let them misunderstand. Let them assume. Let them paint whatever picture they want. You don't owe them clarity anymore. You owe yourself peace. You owe yourself progress. Every time you bite your tongue instead of snapping back, every time you walk away instead of exploding, every time you choose growth over revenge, you win, quietly, permanently, painfully for them. Discipline changes your hunger. You stop craving attention and start craving outcomes. You stop needing to be liked and start demanding respect. You stop begging for love and start commanding loyalty. You stop explaining your worth and start living like it's undeniable. You've become unshakable, so solid no storm can rattle you, so sharp no lie can dull you, so silent your absence screams louder than their presence ever could. That's power. That's what they fear, not rage. Rage is predictable. Discipline is unpredictable. It's the sniper in a world of reckless gunfire, the slow drip of venom instead of the obvious strike. It's surgical, tactical, lethal. You move like a shadow now. No noise, no warning, just impact, just change, just results. You're not here to make a scene. You're here to build one. One where your enemies don't even know they've lost until they're buried in the silence you left behind. That's who you are now. That's what they created when they broke the old you. Not a monster, not a villain like Bane, but something worse. A weapon refined by restraint, a danger honed by discipline. You're not driven by rage. You're driven by purpose. That's why they can't sleep at night. Let's talk about that silence again, because it's not just the absence of sound. It's a language, and you speak it fluently. It's not that you don't feel anymore. It's that you've learned to channel those feelings into something unstoppable. That fire didn't consume you. It became your forge. You didn't scream when they betrayed you. You didn't post when they mocked you. You didn't beg when they replaced you. You built day after day, brick by brick. While they laughed, you planned. While they celebrated, you plotted. While they pointed fingers, you pointed inward, fixing every broken piece they left behind. Now look at you, not louder, not more emotional, just more precise, more unyielding. That's not a glow-up. That's not revenge. That's discipline in its purest form, becoming untouchable. They trained you, didn't they? Every time they disrespected you, they sharpened your edges. challenges. Every time they excluded you, they fueled your focus. Every time they let you down, they raised your standards. They forged the weapon they now fear. They thought pain would ruin you. They didn't know pain was your teacher, failure your curriculum, betrayal your textbook. You studied every wound, every loss, every tear, and you graduated with honors in never again. Now you don't just walk differently, you calculate every step. You don't just breathe differently, you use every breath to stay 10 moves ahead. They can't bait you anymore. You've seen too much, felt too deeply, bled too long. When you realized you could only count on yourself, everything shifted. The noise became pointless. The fake smiles lost their shine. The compliments rang hollow. You built something they can't touch, an inner code, a standard, a silence no lie, no manipulation, no drama can pierce. But here's the truth. Discipline hurts. It's lonely. It's isolating. It's not for the weak. People think it's just about grinding. No, it's about grieving too. Grieving the old you. One who trusted too quickly, gave too much, believed too easily. That version had to die for a reason. His death birthed someone colder, wiser, stronger. Not because you wanted to be that way, but because life left you no choice. You didn't choose to be this cold. You chose to stop burning. And in that frost, you found clarity, peace, control. Now you don't waste time proving anything. You're done explaining, done defending. If they don't get it, let them stay confused. If they don't believe in you, let them stay blind. You're not here for their applause. You're here for your own evolution. Your mission outshines their validation. Your discipline drowns out their doubt. Your silence outweighs their words. Let them talk, twist stories, rewrite the past. You keep building, keep moving, keep climbing. When it's all done, the results will scream louder than their rumors. When they see you at the summit they tried to block you from, just smile, not for revenge, but because you know you made it without rage. You made it with discipline. Ever notice how quiet true power is? Real power doesn't advertise itself. It doesn't post updates. It doesn't beg for attention. It just moves. It builds in silence, strikes without fanfare, and vanishes like smoke before anyone knows what hit them. That's where discipline has taken you. You used to be emotional, letting every insult, every glance, every rejection cut deep, draining you. You thought being soft was strength, that loving harder, forgiving deeper, helping more would make them stay, respect you, protect your heart. But it only taught them how to hurt you better. Now you've learned not to hate, but to let go, to detach, to focus on what matters without wasting another second, proving yourself to people who never listened. That's discipline, too, letting go of the need to be understood, walking away from what you once begged for, standing still when your soul aches to chase after someone who didn't value your presence. You don't chase anymore. Not because you don't care, but because you finally respect yourself too much to run. They mistook your loyalty for weakness, your patience for permission, your love for naivety. When they saw you go quiet, they thought they'd won. They thought you'd given up. But no, you were just done pouring oceans into cups too small to hold you, done watering people who'd never offer you a sip when you were parched. That silence wasn't surrender, it was transformation. Now you don't give warnings, you deliver results. You don't argue, you level up. You don't announce your moves, you let them echo in the aftermath. That kind of evolution terrifies small minds. They want you reactive, emotional, predictable, easy to guilt, easy to control. But you move like winter now, cold, silent, unyielding. Their old games, old tricks, old manipulations fall flat because you're not emotionally tethered anymore. You don't see closure. You don't hope they'll change. You're building. You're healing. Every day you choose growth over revenge, focus over chaos, goals over gossip. You win, quietly but completely. They'll feel it in your absence, in the success they're not invited to, in the peace they can't disrupt. They'll feel it in the way you stop responding, stop explaining, outgrow everything they tried to cage you in. Discipline frees you from emotional chains, from the trap of approval, from the addiction to being liked. You don't need their validation anymore. You validate yourself with your consistency, your work, your results, your peace. You used to crave understanding. Now you crave solitude to build. You used to want acceptance. Now you want to be untouchable. Nothing scares the world more than a man who doesn't need it anymore. A man who doesn't chase love, who doesn't flinch at silence, who doesn't fold under pressure. That's the man you've become, not through rage, but through discipline. Ever wonder why they went quiet when you stopped talking? Why the ones who mocked you, who ran their mouths, suddenly hushed when you vanished into your grind? They didn't expect you to stay down, stay disciplined. They were banking on your emotions, counting on you breaking, crying, reacting, proving them right. They weren't ready for a man who swallowed his pain and turned it into strategy, who didn't yell back, but wrote the next chapter in silence. That control is unnatural to them, terrifying. When someone stops responding, stops chasing attention, stops feeding the circus, they realize they're not dealing with someone playing for the crowd anymore. They're facing someone building a legacy. Remember when they left you for dead, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, when they turned their backs, blamed you, laughed or vanished like ghosts you thought were real. You could have exploded, retaliated, dragged their names through the truth they prayed would stay buried. But you didn't. You held back. You walked away, not because you were weak, but because you understood the difference between power and performance. Discipline taught you that you don't have to attend every fight you're invited to, don't have to counter every lie with a story, don't have to swing to win. Sometimes the deadliest move is no move at all, just silence, just distance, just leveling up so loudly they choke on your success without you saying a word. You chose peace, not because you're soft, but because you're tired. Tired of being the one who gives, who explains, who fixes what others break, who listens when no one hears you, who loves deeply while being used. One day you snapped, not with rage, but with resolve. You said no more waiting for appreciation, no more sitting at tables serving silence and stress, no more proving my worth to the blind. From that day, you became your own anchor, your own storm, your own home. You didn't need validation, you needed a vision, and now that you have it, you're lethal. Not because of rage, but because you're centered. That version of you who cried behind closed doors, that was your training phase, your cocoon, your dirt. But this version, the one who walks with purpose, who doesn't blink when doors slam, that's the warrior with armor. That's the calm in the chaos. To be this calm, you had to survive hell. You had to eat betrayal like breakfast, breathe through abandonment, keep showing up to a life that hit you without mercy. You didn't fold. You adapted. You took every blow and turned it into discipline. Now, every room you enter shifts. Every person who doubted you now whispers because your silence is louder than their opinions ever were. You don't walk for them anymore. You don't work for revenge. You work for purpose. You grind for peace. You bleed for a future only you can see. That's what makes you untouchable. Not the noise, not the flexing, not the rage, but the discipline, the consistency, the refusal to quit. You didn't just get stronger, you got smarter, colder, strategic. In a world of chaos and clowns, that makes you dangerous. They don't know what's coming, what you're building, or if you'll even strike. But they know you're not the same, and that scares them more than anything. What sets you apart now isn't your pain. Everyone has pain. It's not your past. Everyone has scars. It's that you didn't use any of it as an excuse. You didn't sit there begging the world to fix you. You stood up alone. You faced it alone. Now you walk like a man whose buried versions of himself no one knew existed. That's what makes you heavy, not a burden, but a presence. You enter a room and people feel it. They don't know what changed, but they sense it. That edge, that stillness, that control. It doesn't shout, doesn't ask, doesn't plead. It just is, solid, silent, unmoved. They feel small around it, not because you belittle them, but because they know they wouldn't have survived what forged you. Deep down, that's why they envy you, not for what you have, but for what you became. You became something they couldn't because they never chose discipline. They chose distraction, shortcuts, crowds. You chose the lonely road, the 5 a.m. mornings, the silent grind, the nights where your thoughts were both enemy and ally. You chose the pain that leads to power. Now, they watch you with eyes full of unspoken stories. I underestimated him. I didn't think he'd make it. Or worse, I wish I was like him. They'll never say it, but they'll sit in the shadows, watching the one they doubted become the standard they can't reach. That's what silence does. That's what discipline carves. It makes you a monument to everything they thought you'd never be. You didn't scream your way here. You earned it, quietly, through repetition, resistance, restraint. You kept your mouth shut when they lied. You kept your fists down when they deserved to be broken. You kept your plans private while they bragged about dreams they'd never chase. Every time they took your silence for weakness, they wrote another line in the obituary of their own relevance. You've outgrown their words, outpaced their efforts, outclassed their energy. All you did was stay focused, stay dangerous, stay disciplined. They don't talk about the years you were invisible, the times you smiled while dying inside, the nights you stitched your own wounds because no one else showed up. They only see the result, the frame, the posture, the eyes. The way you move like someone who's seen too much to be shaken by anything small. They see the calm, but not the war it took to create it. And that's fine. Let them wonder. Let them guess. Part of your power now is the mystery, the unpredictability. You're not emotional bait anymore. You're not the guy who reacts. You're the guy who watches, calculates, moves when it matters, and never to entertain. The stronger you became, the quieter you got. You stopped sharing every move, defending every choice, explaining every boundary. When you're truly disciplined, you realize not everyone deserves access. Not everyone deserves a seat at your table. Some people are just loud furniture in a room that needs to be cleared. Silence is how you renovate your peace, how you make space for clarity, for growth, for purpose to move. You used to think walking away was losing. Now you know it's wisdom. So keep going, keep building, keep becoming. Let them gossip, let them wonder, let them circle and talk about the man they can't touch anymore. Your silence has already said everything that needs saying. You're not made of rage. You're made of rituals, resilience, and the kind of patience that makes devils nervous. When the dust settles, you won't be the loudest in the room. You'll be the last one standing. They'll never truly grasp the weight you carry. They see you now, tall, steady, composed, quiet, and think it came easy, that you just flipped a switch. They don't see the thousands of battles fought in silence, the nights you broke down in the dark and wiped away tears before anyone could know, the mornings you dragged yourself out of bed with your soul in fragments, but your mission intact. Your discipline isn't some gift. It's a rebellion against everything trying to crush your spirit, against the weakness you were expected to sink into, against odds so steep most would have collapsed. You didn't collapse. You adapted. You learned to suffer and still push forward, to lose people and not lose yourself. That's a kind of danger they don't teach in schools. It's forged in solitude, not textbooks. You thought they'd cheer for you, that they'd see your growth, your grind, and say, "He made it." Instead, they got quieter, distant, bitter. Why? Because your discipline is a mirror, and when undisciplined people look into it, they see everything they're not. You remind them of the effort they never gave, the focus they never had, the sacrifices they were too weak to make. Instead of rising, they try to pull you down with silence, shade, subtle disrespect. But it doesn't matter anymore, does it? You know who you are. A man who knows himself is untouchable. You used to explain your silence, feel guilty for not being available, think being real meant being open, soft, forgiving. Now you get it. Silence is protection. Distance is peace. Discipline is freedom. The tighter you held your standards, the faster the wrong ones fell away. That's the lesson most never learn. Silence isn't lonely. It's cleansing. You don't need 10 fake friends. You need one vision, one mission, one future. You've committed to it without looking back. They call you cold, distant, arrogant because you won't bend for chaos, won't chase those who walk away, won't answer every call to war. But you're not those things. You're just tired of bending, of trying, of holding lines for those who wouldn't hold them for you. You're not bitter. You're done. Done explaining, done apologizing for your boundaries, done shrinking for people who couldn't handle your true size. Most of all, you're done pretending you need anything other than what you're building. That's the power of discipline. It makes your silence heavy, your presence rare, your future inevitable. You're not in competition anymore. You're aligned with purpose, progress, peace. While the world runs in circles, screaming for attention, you move differently. You move like a man who knows time is currency and energy is precious. You don't invest in chaos anymore. You invest in mastery. You study, you work, you build with a focus that makes even the loudest nervous, because they know rage makes noise, but discipline builds empires.